Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome to Vibing with Sleezy, the podcast. This is season 3, episode 12, and this is another two-parter, and this will be the part 1 episode. So I want to thank everybody for joining, listening, downloading. Season 3 has been a blast so far. I know I haven't been pumping out the episodes like I usually do in season 1 and 2, like back to back to back every couple of days. Life's just fucking busy and hectic and crazy, so I've been grinding, but I'm going to get this season 3 complete for you. Probably going to wrap it up in November and then tune in for season 4 next year. So my special guest for this two-parter is someone who I met years ago when I was selling beer in the beer and restaurant industry business, and became a friend. And actually, I think my family actually likes this guy more than they like me. So he's just a great guy, very talented, very smart, and has his own podcast. So I pretty much just wanted to bring him on. We both just been super busy. So season 3, let's get it. So my special guest is none other than Tom Payne.
Man, what an introduction. I don't know if I deserved all that, man.
Dude, you are a hell of a guy, man. You are one of my favorites, dude. So life, how's life been treating you here so far?
Life is good, man. I work from home now, right? So I haven't put on pants in like 6 months. It's been really nice.
See, that's the route I probably should eventually go. Like, the in home is so fucking nice. And then like anytime that my boss is like, hey, you don't have to be in the field, you can run home and work for the rest of the afternoon or something like that, I'm like, fuck yeah. Like,
let's go.
Like, light up the weed, take the pants on, let's get it.
Oh yeah, man.
I just get in that mode where I'm just like, I feel like that's going to be the future, is that comfort is going to start bringing more results.
I think so, 100%, man. As you know, I was in the restaurant industry for my whole life essentially, and my one of my good friends works at it's essentially a, how do you say this? I've been doing this job for like a year and a half, so I don't know what the hell I do, but we install like wireless internet in large facilities, I think is the best way to say it, like warehouses and whatnot. And I was working at the distillery, and he came to me and he was like, hey man, you want to work from home with full bennies? And it was hard to say no. So yeah,
full
man.
Bennies, no pants.
Full bennies, no pants, bro. The commute is amazing.
You're like, where's the fucking paperwork? I'll sign it now.
Absolutely.
So let's there's tons of stuff we can talk about. So let's go back to the time when we did meet, and kind of, because I thought it'd be cool for someone to not only talk about working in a restaurant, working at a bar, but also just the bar business and all that in general.
Sure.
Let's talk about, so the way me and Tom met. So Tom started working at Merle's Whiskey Kitchen, and yeah, I name drop on this show. I don't give a fuck. So yeah,
back when it was Manny and Merle.
Manny and Merle, yes, Manny and Merle. Wow, a classic. So I was the Budweiser rep, and Tom got on, and me and Tom we hit it off from day one. And I was always trying to sell Tom, though, the craziest fucking beers for Manny and Merle. So if you don't know what Manny and Merle is, it's a honky tonk concept, like country western bar, food, barbecue, hot chicken, that kind of thing, kind of a Nashville vibe. But what's fucking hilarious is Tom and me were so cool, and Tom would always help me out and hook me up and buy like random shit. But I would just randomly just come in, and it would always be like my last stop on a Tuesday. And I'd be like, yo, Tom, you want to take this shock top banana?
Man, I remember, man. I also seem to remember you being very adamant about me taking on Natty Light. And
Natty Light, Natty Light. Like, yeah,
I drew the line pretty firm there, though. I don't think I ever took that on. I think that was just to stress you out, though.
Yeah, I ended up I brought up the Busch Light to you, and I think to be honest, you bought one case of 25-ounce cans, and then you were like, dude, this is more of like, give it out to the staff.
That's exactly what happened. What happened.
And then, the thing about me and Tom hit it off so well there. And Tom and me would always mess with Wayne, who is the manager there. We would always mess with his son with doing like magic. And Tom
Yeah.
was always way better at magic than everybody. And Tom would blow my mind. And then one time at Manny and Merle's, it's like a fucking magician came to town. And I'll never forget it. And I remember my ex told me, like, hey, there's a magician in town. He's down here at the bar. I fucking came every day that week, and I didn't get enough, dude. The guy's just doing trick after trick for me at the bar.
Yeah,
I'm in Bud Light aluminums, and he's just fucking doing card tricks out the ass. But what's really crazy is, I don't know if you remember this, Tom. You remember the time when it was like, there was a few of us and we're like, it's after work, and like I was down there after, you know, the restaurant had closed, and we're standing outside and we're like all like, I think drinking a beer or something. And there was that club that was like 2 blocks away on Main, and the club had switched like owners like 50 times, and there was all those gunshots.
Yeah.
And dude, we're all like fucking going to, like, when you used to have like the station wagon, we're about to like go under, like hide under the fucking safe. These people are running like crazy, cars peeling off shit. So, you know, what's fucking even crazier is that me and Tom almost, we survived a crazy shooting, a gang shooting.
It was a gang shooting, man. I remember specifically being very stressed out, as I had never encountered a drive-by shooting before.
No,
that was a brand new experience for me. It was late. Merle's was open late. I think it was like 2:30, 3 o'clock in the morning. It was very late. And as I recall, we saw a guy get shot at from across the parking lot. And dude goes down, car peels off, dude gets up and runs away.
Yeah, and then next thing I know, we're all like looking at each other like, let's get in the fucking cars, whatever. So next thing you know, I get in my car, and I just remember me and Sid are flying to the back of the parking lot, and I just remember there was like 5 cars lined up there on Market, and then and they're like yelling shit, and like, oh, we got that motherfucker, and I'm like, oh my gosh, and then I'm up in the mess, and I'm like, I gotta get out of here. Then I start seeing all these fucking cops and shit. It was crazy. And then
that would be, I would say that was probably top tier not strangest, but most wild downtown experience I've ever had.
Oh, for sure. I mean, I had some just working at Budweiser and just seeing some people. And
yeah, you had a strange route, as I recall.
Oh yes, popper level to 45th. So it was an adventure, but I've learned the hood, and you know, and I was accepted.
He's learned the hood.
Yeah, the hood. So I felt the acceptance, and like I said, it was cool, and I loved it down there. But what's sad is Merle's, or Manny and Merle's at the time, it's not in the hood, and so it's like it's in the heart of the tourism capital of Louisville. So it's just like, man, it was just so crazy that it happened. I once was at Merle's, and next thing you know, it was the night the Tim Faulkner shooting happened at that concert. And I remember I saw like 40 fucking cops just flying down Main Street, and I was like, this is the wildest, like, crazy,
so stressful, man.
Oh yeah, and dude, it's just, that's when like I'm not a police fan. I'm open about it. I'm just not a big fan of cops. I'm not gonna get into it, but that's just me. I just don't like them. But at the end of the day, I will say this, that night I queued up that fucking police scanner, and I'm talking like, dude, it was some of the craziest shit I've ever heard. And it's just like, it's wild when like shit goes down. So sometimes it is fun to turn that scanner on and you just hear all the fucking like chaos, but then you're just like, I need to get the fuck out of here.
Like, yeah, man.
Like, I need like, this is not a football game where I can just tune in and be like, oh, we got a first down. No, this is like a fucking, oh, we got 50 shots. So it's like, it's crazy, man. But so yeah, but then, you know, you went on and you worked at I remember you worked at Boom Boss, which is part of the Merle family, and you were close to my house. And then my dad retired and started working for Mint Julep Tours, and he kind of, you know, became one of their bigger reps of like you know, just driving and doing tours. He ended up winning the Rose Award, which he was pumped about. But you were
I didn't know that. That's fucking awesome.
Yeah. He ended up winning the Rose Award for best tour driver a few years ago. And then what's crazy is like he won it right before COVID. And He was super excited. We went downtown and he was nominated between like 4 other people. And what's fucking crazy is like one of the people nominated was a TARP driver. So it's like he's like literally competing against like anybody in transportation, even like I think there was even like a cab driver from like that green cab company. So it's like
Sure.
he's down there, he wins it, and and it was just really cool. But then he kind of at that point took a step back, but he fell in love with Jephthah,
Yeah.
which is where Tom was working, and Tom, was doing big things out there. And Jephthah Creek, if you haven't been, it's pretty much a little south of Louisville, probably 20-30 minutes, and it's an awesome spot, and it's pretty much like in Simpsonville, right?
I think it's actually what's interesting is it's listed as Shelbyville, but it feels like Simpsonville.
Yeah, exactly. And it's just this incredible place and has a lot of fun stuff like pizza, shuffleboard. They got basketball, like Papa Shot. They got skee ball. They got throwing all the stuff.
Yeah, man. So this is crazy, right? So back in 2017, I was engaged to get married, right? And I was working at Boombas after I'd left Joella's, actually. So I went from running Manny and Merle to then opening the first Joella's. And I worked
for Bruce.
Oh my God. I still have stressful dreams about that fucking dude, man.
Dude, I'm not gonna lie. Since you brought that up, I have to say I like to DoorDash on the side. It's just my side hustle, and I'll be honest, I got it down like a science. Like I always do the St. Matthews route. I know which place to go. And dude, I started finding out this like certain window, and I'm not gonna release my window. So
release the window, man.
I'll be honest. Okay, about that 5 to 7 p.m. window, maybe even like 7:30. Joelle's is hot, and if
it's hot, dude.
Parking lot, you're getting fucking chicken orders to go to Cannon's Lane. I'm talking about the one on Frankfurt there. So, dude, what's crazy about that is I'm glad you brought up Joelle's. There's 2 things about Bruce I want to say. So I see Bruce all the time at that Joelle's, and he's always popping in, and like he'll be like popping in and be like, hey, what's up, guys? Like, I just want, like, we gotta put the sign up. We gotta do all this stuff. And I love him. He's like the fucking man. And he's like, dude, he's got it down to a fucking science. Like, the guy comes in and he's like, hey, you want this way? Let's do this. And like, it's just, he's a restaurant man. And the thing about it is like seeing him recently, I started seeing him everywhere. Then I like went to Burger's Bagel just to get a bagel one day, and he's there. So I love seeing him. Me and him have always had a good relationship. The only thing that's crazy to me is like the thing about Joella's that's the most wild thing is like I had never met a man more passionate about chicken in my life. And the way he was so passionate about the hot chicken. And then I just remember like he had that little Joella chicken committee at Merle's, and he'd have me like try sides and try all this food and was like, what do you think? And like hook me up with like a meal at the Joel's when he's like, come down, check it out. Like that's what I loved about him, because you worked for him. So it's a different relationship.
Buddy, absolutely.
Yeah. And I didn't really even sell beer to him. He just would like see me at the bar. We just hit it off. I'm a people person. So
sure.
We just got along like, and we always have, and we just have that respect for each other. But like I said, when you're working for somebody, it's a way different situation, but he fucking cracked me up. And it's like, what I loved about him was, it's like, dude, he was the chicken man. Like it's like he had it in him. Like I swear to God, he becocked a few times. Like he loved that hot chicken.
He becocks a lot.
Yes, it's like
yeah. No, man, it was a wild experience working for him and working in that at that time in the city, and with the kickoff of Joella's and how just insane it was. That first Joella's on Cannons is like a fucking cardboard box, and you're doing 60-70 grand a week selling chicken tenders. Like it's wild, man.
It's wild. It's the smallest fucking establishment.
Oh my God, dude.
Like the little porch, you see the workers out back smoking out of that little tiny kitchen. And then what's hilarious is like there's like a couple that works there, and I guess the guy like helps his girl out, and he's always talking to me, like hook me up with drinks and stuff. He's a really cool dude. And like, he's always like, he's like, dude, he's like, we got a food truck now. And he's like, man, these fucking people go crazy for this shit. And I was like, dude, what I love about this is, and what I love about Joella's is like, number one, like it's crazy how big that hot chicken shit blew up and how it's still relevant. Like how
Oh yeah.
people are still fucking with it. And then the other thing is like, do you remember how, like, dude, you remember how bad that beef was? Royals, Joella's, like, dude,
Oh yeah.
it got crazy. Like Vince Staples, the rapper, he came in and I guess tried like Royals and Joella's, like he was here for a show and he started some controversy online, like what he thought was better and all. So it's just like it was crazy. And then but it is cool to see, two of them still kind of somewhat survive. And I know Royals had to close the Middletown location.
They closed the J-Town one. I know that.
Oh,
Over
did
by my
they?
place. Yeah, over by Rec Bar, they closed it.
So they
But
must be struggling. I guess they're just doing downtown then. So looks like
that downtown location is slapping though. That's a really cool venue, man.
oh
They
yeah,
do a lot over
Nulu
there.
work and all those
Yeah.
big doors and gates.
Yeah.
So let me ask you this: like working in the bar and restaurant industry, man. So like, how stressful is it?
I think that depends on how seriously you take it. Like there's a lot of restaurant workers, because I started working in the restaurants when I'm 20 years old. Well, actually, I mean, technically, when I was in high school, that was like during when like David Blaine and everybody was blowing up. So I learned
Oh,
a bunch of card tricks and started doing restaurant magic when I was like 15, 16. So I started washing dishes on the side and doing magic in the evening at this place called the Irish Rover.
oh my God, that's so dope, dude! I
So I
love
would do
that
Walker.
show.
Yeah, I would do Walker. There was a location in LaGrange where I grew up, and I would walk around and do magic for tips. And then on the weekends, I would wash dishes. But anyway, so I got into the restaurant industry very early, right? Like quickly learned that like college and stuff wasn't for me and started working full time. I think I started waiting tables when I was 20 at the Olive Garden. And I would say like, again, like it's just how seriously you take it. Like I've I took to it. I wanted to be a bartender, so I worked hard to try to become one. And I found it quite stressful because I don't like to fuck shit up. I don't like to make mistakes. I take that on the chin pretty good. So I worked hard. I took it seriously. So for me, it was stressful. And a lot of my time in the restaurant industry, I was a manager. Either general manager or otherwise. And so there's a lot more responsibility than just managing a couple of tables or managing a fry station, because I've worked every station you could imagine in a restaurant. And that's not a flex, that's just right time right place kind of thing.
Yeah.
And but yeah, I would say that my time at Joella's was the most stressful time of my whole restaurant career, because I was working like 75, 80 hours a week at a brand new startup, and they had such high expectations for what they wanted that place to be. So, and again, it was a brand new restaurant, so there was not a lot of structure, and you had to kind of put that in place.
Yeah.
And it's a lot to navigate when 1 week you're selling, I don't know, I can't even put a number on how much fucking chicken we sold out of that place. But no 2 weeks was the same. 1 week you're running out of coleslaw, the next week you're running out of potatoes, whatever. It's crazy. There was no rhyme or reason, and there was no way to kind of put it all in a box to manage it.
And now I know that it is cooked, like I know the shit's cooked in house and stuff, but like where was Bruce getting this stuff? I mean, especially during the startup, was somebody local helping out, or was it him, or was it a company, or like what was going on? Was it Cisco? Like I just didn't know how he,
Right.
like what the fuck he did.
So with Boombas, because the Palambino family owned Boombas, right?
Yeah.
And then they had Manny and Merle, and back in the day they had AP Crafters and a few other like restaurant concepts. And so that them as I would call them more of like a group, the Palambino like restaurant family, I guess you could say, had a pretty good relationship with Gordon Food Service. And so they were funneling, a lot of their resources from their other restaurants to kind of, to my knowledge, to fund the R&D, research and development for that restaurant. Also, if you've ever been to Nashville,
yeah,
you just go into any hot chicken place, especially with one that comes to mind, it's called Hattie B's. Very famous. The this is kind of dangerous to say, but the similarities between the two restaurants, Joella's and Hattie B's, is remarkable.
Well, here's the thing, I want to bring that up. So something that I'll say about this is that Joella, see, I was approached by Tony and Bruce, and they can say this happened. I spit facts, and so they approached me, and they knew I lived in Nashville for 4 years, in college and stuff, and I had shared that with them, and I gave them a list of hot chicken places that already existed down there. And what's fucking crazy to me is they were men of their word. They fucking drove down there. And dude, what's wild is I told them to go to a Citgo gas station in the fucking hood in East Nashville, literally 5 minutes from the projects. It's all been redeveloped now, but this was like years ago before Nashville was more and more money just kept pumping in. So it's crazy to me. And they went and tried it all. And they gave me reviews.
Oh, yeah.
But I will say this, it was one of these cases where I think they drove down there, checked everything out, and was just like, fuck, we can do this ourselves, and like,
yeah, first to market in Louisville, I would say, was the biggest point for them. They wanted to get ahead of the whole. I think you can't really hate on the ingenuity of it. I mean,
no, it's smart, it's genius. Yeah.
I think that I kind of I wouldn't say like jaded perspective, but coming from being like a full service bartender, high pace, quick, long, different. It was a different type of situation. Yeah. So I don't think that I don't think I was able to lend as much to that process, just because it was so different than anything I had encountered. But yeah, you can't hate on the ingenuity for sure. But yeah, I don't miss coming home I don't miss permanently smelling like fried chicken. You think you think that's something you would enjoy, but like after like day 7, you're like, all right.
Yeah, and you smell like that for a long time.
It doesn't go away, bro. I still smell it. I'm just kidding. I still smell like chicken.
You wake up, smell like chicken. You're like, chicken. So, so being a bar manager and like bar ordering stuff, I mean, something I was always interested and fascinated about was like, what is the inventory process like when you're like, how do you, for example, and I know this is probably a broad question, but it's like, okay, say for example, you have an Old Forester bottle on the shelf bar, and it's fucking halfway full, and you clearly know that there's been probably like 7 to 8 shots poured of that Old Forester.
Sure.
Are you having to go measure each bottle? Are you weighing it? Like, I mean, like I said, you're talking to a novice restaurant here. So
yeah, well, I think there's a lot of different ways to approach it. Some people have like a labeling system that they will track, versus, like, it's kind of like if like your parents knew you were drinking their whiskey, and they put like a little line on where the whiskey was, and if it goes down, they know that you're drinking it. At least that was the case at my granddad's house. But so and then other people have like, I mean, there's a lot of ways to do it. Typically, in my experience, and this probably isn't the far from the best way, but it's what I like to call, it's like an eyeball.
Yeah.
You're rating it. Is it half full? Is it 3/4 full? On a scale of 1 to 10, is it 0.1? Is it full, or is it 0.00? It's empty. So, but at a place like Merle's, especially that has just such a large inventory of spirits, you'd have a bitch of a time doing it any other way. Yeah. And then you got to, inventory is crucial for bar service, or else you're gonna run out of shit all the time. So you got to inventory, and then you got to know what's called like a par level. Like, I need to have 7 cases of beer, right? If I'm anything less than 7 cases of beer, I need to get back up to 7 cases of beer.
Yeah, and so to kind of that's what we kind of did selling Budweiser. It's like you'd have your case mark, you knew what they needed each week, and
yeah. So
that makes sense. And and then and I know kind of from the beer perspective, and like another question kind of ask you is like, did you ever, you're having a lot of people that are not coming off the street, but you're having people that might not gone to college or gone to get educated, or might have had a drug problem or substitute, they're working in a restaurant industry, anything like that. I mean, how do you go about disciplining people about not about that stuff, but I'm saying like their performance at a job? Like, you got to hold things to a high standard, but you also have to realize like, I'm not working with perfection here. So it's like, I'm just saying, like, how do you go about, do you discipline people differently, certain people, or is it kind of like, I'm firm to everybody, or is it kind of like, hey, I need to, I gotta be more harder on this guy than the other?
Well, yeah, I mean, I think there's a lot of different strategies for that. For me, um, I always got more results with sugar than vinegar. So meaning like you have somebody that's not performing well, you try to figure out why. You want to have, especially like an environment like Merle's where there were so few employees.
Mm-hmm.
You kind of get to know everyone on a personal level just out of just sheer proximity. So it was, I think that there's knuckleheads. I can think of 5 or 6 off the top of my head. At any given restaurant, and but I always try to have a personal approach with people, and that might not be successful for some folk, but it worked for me, but you give somebody a break, like the first time you make a mistake, it's you're all right, it's a mistake, but the
Yeah.
third time you make that mistake, maybe this is not a mistake anymore. um and so you can always be kind, but you can't always be, um
Everybody's friend.
yeah, there comes a time, in every point of leadership where you have to draw a line in the sand and make harder decisions,
Mm-hmm.
for sure, for anybody,
Now,
you
how
know.
did you like? How did you like working? Because I deal with this now in my job, and I actually like it because they're great people and it's very interesting. But I have a lot of Hispanic people that work
Oh
for
yeah.
me because I got contractors and I'm that's what I'm in the flipping home business right now. So it's like with the restaurant, I just knowing from being there and selling y'all beer and stuff, I know that your kitchen staff's majority Hispanic.
Oh yeah.
And like I had seen that even when the only restaurant job I ever had was 2 months as a host one summer at Famous Dave's in high school. So it's like, and I saw, it's like if you don't know Spanish, did you feel like you communicate well with them? Because you can't hold up a translator device while somebody's making 5 entrees and flip. I mean, how did you go about that? How did you like that?
Man, I would say that, I'm the worst in that I think that I speak Spanish, because I've been in the restaurant industry so long, and I would say that the backbone of every kitchen that I've ever seen, in my shortish restaurant career has been majority, Latino, or Hispanic, and
Mm,
so I've always been fascinated by Latino culture and whatnot, and and especially at Merle's, everybody were fucking, um, fine oiled machines. They knew the ins and outs of everything. They understood the urgency better than anybody. They worked twice as hard as anybody, and I've always considered it a privilege to be able to interact with people from other cultures, and
me too. Me too.
but I would say that I'm one of these guys that's a little overconfident in his, Spanish speaking, if you will.
Hmm.
I know probably, I know restaurant Spanish, if that makes any kind of sense, like,
Okay, yeah, I know construction Spanish, so yeah, I'm right
yeah.
there with you. Like like I'm, like I kind of show up, and I'm always like, I think the thing that makes everybody and what makes me happy is like everybody kind of smiles. Is like when you show up to a job site and you're like, "Que pasa?" and everybody's like, "Okay, he's cool." Like
Yeah.
I'm not coming there like rapide, rapide, like I'm
Uh-huh.
yelling shit. So I am yelling some days, but not at them. So they're, so I was always I agree. Like I think different cultures so dope. Like I've said before on the show, I had 3 Germans come and stay with me. I've gone to Norway. I have friends in Wales. Like
Oh
I'm
wow.
really big on international. I'm actually going to try to do a podcast episode from Norway this Friday coming up. So it's just I love it too, and that's one thing I like working with Hispanics. Like at my job, it's just the culture and like one of my workers a couple weeks ago brought me Jumex, the Mexican juice.
Oh yeah.
That shit's so fucking good, and it's just like
Slaps.
those gestures are really dope. But yeah, I mean, it does seem like not that it's like in their blood, but it's just like hard work is big in Latino culture, and it's just like they work their ass off, and sometimes to be honest, it's like if you didn't even have to communicate, you the job's gonna get done. Like
Oh
that
yeah.
kind of deal. Like that like okay, I have a packed fucking restaurant. I don't know shit about Spanish. My phone's dead, and I have too much shit going on right now. But I know all this shit's gonna happen. It's just like because at the end of the day, too, it's like, I think everybody. It doesn't matter where you're from. Everybody has some kind of form of pride built into them.
Oh yeah, absolutely, man. And I again, like I wish I knew the recipe for that level of enthusiasm when it comes to the grind, because sometimes I just don't have it. You know what I mean? Like
Me too,
sometimes
bro.
you just want to say, "Fucking, bro, I'm just trying to chill right now. I just want to hang out." And then, but for some folk, it's just it's not in them. Like culture, regardless, it's just some folk just get the hustle. They can't stop.
Yeah, and I'll be honest too. Like you kind of have to you have to adjust your dial, or it's gonna it can literally fuck with your health and your life. Like
Oh,
I
absolutely.
remember, I feel like I've gotten to the point I'm at today because of hard work, but I also I look back and I'm like, fuck, I was putting in so much time and effort into Leo. Like I was fucking Leo, and it just got to the
Yeah.
point where I loved it, but it's just it's just like, was it worth it? And at the end of the day, I have no regrets in life, and I've been very blessed. But it's just like there's just some days you look back and you're just like, man, I shouldn't have done all that, or like shouldn't do it. But it's just like it's also kind of like you're doing what you think's best, and so that's why you can't really regret it because it's like that's a decision you made, and you just kind of got to like roll with it and deal with it. But yeah, I totally get you on that. And then like the other question kind of about the restaurant business, I would say is like what how did you ever overcome like staffing issues? Because I know that, people call in, people no show, people quit, very quick in the restaurant industry sometimes. Did you ever feel like there was days where you're just like, fuck it, I gotta go do 7 different jobs today?
Oh my gosh. Yeah. I mean, that's what happens, like invariably in any industry, you're going to have call outs, like, and you got to have adaptability is a huge piece, and that happened a lot actually at the distillery. When I was running the bar program at the distillery, we had a very small staff because we were only very, very busy, 2 days a week.
Yeah.
So staffing throughout the week and ensuring that people got their hours and people were meeting their needs was, I would say, very challenging. But a lot of times you kind of just have to do it yourself.
Yeah.
You kind of just have to, you know, eat shit and bear it. It really is just kind of like my dad always used to say, like when I was doing something I didn't have any interest in doing, or was, just it was hard work. He would always just say, embrace the suck. Just it is what it is, man. Mind over matter. You don't mind, it don't matter. So you kind of just have to put yourself in that headspace. I don't like to. Nobody likes to, but you put
That's
yourself
a
in that
good lesson.
headspace.
That's a good lesson, dude.
Yeah, man.
Like that's some wisdom right there. Like it does. I mean, I'm not gonna lie. Every day I embrace the suck, and sometimes it's just like you just kind of you take it on the chin, or you find your ways to vent and stuff. And like that's why I think everybody should have outlets and vices and creativity. Because at the
Oh
end of
yeah,
the day, everybody should have that because it's like you got to have that to kind of break away. And and then I think about like okay, I have a shit day at work, but then it's like I have the freedom to go see my girlfriend Gabrielle and hang out with her, or go smoke some weed, or
oh yeah,
go maybe shoot some basketball, or go play some Madden with my buddy Eric. It's like at the end of the day, I might I might be like, man, today sucked huge donkey dick, but at the end of the day, it's like, holy shit, I have all these outlets
sure,
of that I can go do. But then I think about like countries and like other places around the world, and you think about like the labor and how like hard the work, and even like
oh
the
fuck yeah, dude.
labor community stuff. And it's like there is no like, hey, work's over, let's go fucking go to the bar. It's like that's not always the resource. So it's crazy to think about working, and then and it's like it makes you think. It's like it kind of makes them locked in that mindset, for
Yeah, man.
kind of deal. It's crazy. It really is. But yeah, the other thing I was gonna say with the restaurant industry too, for like your perspective, it's like I feel like you also were kind of able to be creative. Like I feel like you've always kind of been in charge, and especially with like when you work.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah, yeah. But no, I'm saying like I felt like though you always were able to kind of bring your vibe or your creativity to it. And I mean, did it ever get to a point where you were like, "This is mine," or was there ever a point where you sat back and you're just like, "Hey, I'm this is owned by someone else. I'm not going to do all this.
Oh man.
But did you have that balance, or did you just feel like, fuck it, I got to make this my baby while it's mine?
So I think that what comes to mind is Merle's and the distillery. You want a level of pride in what you do, and when I made it to Merle's, it was, at the time, it was a tequila bar.
Yeah.
They had a shitload of tequila, and we kind of while I was there, we were able to maneuver it to a bourbon centric environment right when Whiskey Row was really starting to develop. And that was kind of a place where I was like, I could really lay some roots here, and started getting involved in the creative process. And while I was there, we got best taco in the city, we got best margarita in the city.
And I covered your fucking walls and banners, bro.
Yeah, bro. Yeah, bro. And we changed up the decor and whatnot, and it was a great experience. And then when I was at Jephthah, Jesus, I was there for like 3 years. And in that time, I wore many, many, many hats. From, I started as a part-time bartender a couple weeks before I got married back in 2017. And just out of sheer necessity, I became a full-time bar manager there, because there was no infrastructure. There was no rhyme or reason. It had kind of grown organically to a point to where there wasn't anybody there experienced enough to handle it.
Yeah.
And so I kind of, especially there, like, I created all the cocktail menus. I was responsible for all of the food production, all of that. And so I definitely had a certain level of, I would say, ownership of the creative processes that happened there, in regards to like some of their more popular cocktails that still endure, and the pizza menu and all that stuff. I was kind of the engineer of that in a way. And but yeah, I've always wanted to, especially before COVID, wanted to operate my own space in the restaurant industry. And then witnessing what kind of happened to the restaurant industry with COVID, so many people leaving the industry, myself included, during that time. I definitely found that I would, if I were to do something creative, industry wise, or try to start my own thing, I don't think I would do anything in the food industry, which is shit, because I have like 15 years experience. So
yeah, but things evolve and change so much. I mean, I've always been told, everything changes every 5 years. That doesn't even count, even the pandemic. So it's like, I totally get it. And sometimes you just have to rip that Band-Aid. I mean, I was in sales for so long, I was really good at it. I mean, I still do sales, but it's just like, sometimes you just have to take a step back, because you kind of know, like, this is overwhelming, or this is too much, or here and there, vice versa. So I totally get you there. But it's like, man, you've had a lot of like cool experience, and
oh man, yeah,
you probably met you met probably tons of great people. So it's just like, that's what's really cool about it. And I'll have to ask you this before we wrap up part 1, and then we're gonna record part 2 here shortly. I have to ask you, so did you meet any celebrities when you were working in the restaurant industry?
Yeah, I met a handful. I met the dad from That 70s Show.
That's dope.
That was cool. Anytime I've met anybody of notoriety, I try not to be like a fanboy, but I am typically I probably, like, I have this perception of myself that's probably really wrong. I'm like, I'm gonna play this cool as fuck, and then I walk up, I'm like, oh my god, it's you, hello, I love you, oh my god. That's a perception versus reality right there, man. But
you're like red from the 70s.
Oh my god, that's not my name, jackass. I met that dude from Vampire Diaries, the pretty one. Okay. Ian something. I don't know his fucking name. I met him. I met a handful of others, but those are probably the most. I mean, I met Sylvester Stallone once. That was cool, but that wasn't restaurant related. But
he comes in, he's like, "Hand me a bourbon."
Oh my god, give me a bourbon over here. What are you doing?
And a bourbon. Where the fuck am I on?
Could have been somebody. Give me a bourbon over here.
The thing that's funny before we wrap up is that when I worked at PT Strip Club temporarily, I did that between job transitions, and I was always cool with all the people down there. And like, I met Billy Hamilton, a baseball player, and fucking cool as shit. Had all these girls around him. He like, autographs my jacket, like talks to me for like 20 minutes, even like FaceTime Todd Frazier for me. Like,
Wow.
really fucking cool. But here's a really funny PT celebrity story. Fucking, I was in the back. I'm like all the way in the back of the strip club, like working the VIP section. And Dennis Rodman's in Louisville for some reason.
Wow, that's a big one. That's a big name.
And now here's the thing: I didn't meet him. Now I've met a lot of celebrities like outside of working, but restaurant, strip club wise, the only two, like I said, Billy Hamilton, but Dennis Rodman, I just got to see him from a distance. And tell me why this man, he comes in and everybody's like, you know, hooting and hollering. He's there for maybe like 11 minutes and then he fucking leaves. So I get on break like an hour later. I slide over to the bar and I'm talking to the dude at the bar and I'm like, yo, dude, like, what was that all about? Like, why was Rodman here? And he said, well, Rodman was brought in for some kind of company here wanted to try to see if he would like get involved, like maybe a marketing campaign. So he's in Louisville. He wanted to go to the strip club. Well, he came and dude, they said he chugged 2 gin and tonics in like probably like 30 seconds. And then looked around and goes, I'm not feeling it. And then just walked out of PTs. And
Damn.
So it's just like that's what's crazy. But I'm gonna be honest, for that split second of looking at Dennis Rodman, I didn't give a fuck about meeting him. I didn't give a shit. It just looking at him, I'm like, this motherfucker won all these championships with the Bulls, played with Michael Jordan, gone to North Korea, hangs out with North Korea's president. Like this dude has been everywhere, dated Carmen Electra, married Carmen Electra, like this guy's done it all. And so it's just easy to think about like PTs where I've sold beer for 5 years, hung out there with my buddies there, like that own it, like worked there fucking temporarily. It's like,
I mean, I've had a few evenings. I've had a few evenings there myself, actually.
Yeah, it's a cool spot. And like I said,
rite of passage, man, in Louisville.
It is, dude. And the thing about it is I'm honored to have the relationship I had with PTs just because it taught me so much. But Russell and Brian, they were so good to me. And you know, and I know the strip club industry has a lot of fucked up things in it, but they really did try to take care of the girls and like, you know, the best they could. And, you know, they had a system and, you know, they didn't take bullshit around there, but it's also very pristine, you know, but it was wild times. But yeah, but Dennis fucking Rodman.
That's wild, man. That's wild.
So, all right, everybody, this is part 1. You can reach me at vibingwithsleazy@gmail.com, Vibing with Sleazy, the podcast, Facebook, Instagram. Reach out, show love, show hate. Tell me who you like. Tell me who you love. Any feedback. And so I just want to tell everybody, thank you for listening, downloading, supporting. You make this all worthwhile. And this episode should be coming out on October 23rd or 24th, one of the two. And then we'll release part 2 a few days later. So stay tuned for that. Tom, show them or tell them real quick how they can reach out to you real quick.
Yeah. If you want to, you could follow my podcast, which is on hiatus right now. And it's We Drink and We Know Things, the podcast. It's a show I run with my wife. Yes. And it's a variety show where we tell stories of a stranger nature. It's kind of a paranormal, macabre, everything strange type of a podcast. And you can hit us up at We Drink and We Know Things podcast @gmail.
Fantastic. I love it. We're going to be talking about his podcast. We're going to be talking about other things here in part 2. And so I just want to tell everybody, thank you for listening, supporting, and we are out. Peace.
Peace.